I got my songs. I could go off and just go to, Hawaii and live a nice life. That means that God has called me to sacrifice all of that in order to bring the truth. That's what I'm saying. They don't cut my check. You listen to people that's getting their check cut by Jewish media. George Soros, come and meet with me directly. I told you, you ain't gonna send none of these people that you usually send. Charlemagne, we know all the names.
Kanye West, you gopher-faced Deutschbag. This week, Kanye went on a media blitzkrieg. He threw so many stones at the Jews, he's now an honorary general in the West Bank.
Hey, what's going on, folks? We have another great show for you today. So Ye, the artist formerly known as Kanye West, conducted a really interesting interview with Daily Mail where he called out George Soros.
George Soros, come and meet with me directly.
And further explained his thoughts about the media.
Woke culture is not really woke like that. A lot of times people, they would rather just exist inside of the pain of a lie than deal with the harsh realities of the truth for us to look further.
Now, after his last podcast, comedian Andrew Schulz compared him to Hitler.
So what exactly did Ye say? Well, hungry Hitler went on Drink Champs with the most bloated cheeks I've ever seen on a human. The guy looks like a Ninja Turtle just had a root canal and proceeded to spout off more hate than a West Virginia water fountain.
And got absolutely ratioed by his own supporters because this supposedly standing up to cancel culture comedian is starting to sound a lot like an even lighter skinned Trevor Noah. We're going to listen to the clips today because I feel like it's important to accurately report history, not book burn, and rip the voice out of one of the most famous and successful people when he goes out on a limb to say something people aren't ready to hear. All credit for these interviews I play to Daily Mail. Make sure to check out the full interview there. It's going to be a great show. Starts now.
The Dream Rare Podcast, welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. It's the Dream Rare Podcast, welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
He claimed George Floyd was killed by fentanyl. Wrong. Kanye, we have video evidence of a throat getting crushed, and don't worry, Kim's not in it.
What's going on, everybody? God bless you. Thank you for joining today's episode of the Dream Rare Podcast. So I wanted to talk about two things. First of all, Andrew Schulz, the comedian, is getting absolutely ratioed by his own supporters. He embarrassed himself being a snowflake, safe space, crying victim. I don't know what he's doing, but we'll talk about that and play his clips and react to that in a second. But I do want to talk about this Daily Mail interview. All credit to Daily Mail. This is their video they posted on their website, so I'm just taking clips for fair use. I really want to respond because as people like Andrew Schulz and others are saying he's crazy, he's insane, he's hateful, he's horrible, I just want people to hear for themselves, and I'm obviously going to tell you my opinion, but I just hate book burning. I hate this idea that Donald Trump says something, the media says what he said, and then you're supposed to believe what the media says even though you can't see it for yourself. They're doing the same thing to Kanye West. I don't care if you like him. I don't care if you like Trump. I don't care if you dislike Trump for different reasons than me. But you deserve, as a U.S. or non-U.S., maybe you're in a different country, you deserve to hear the person for yourself and have the intellectual capability to decide what it is. And that's what I want people to do. And that's why I keep covering this topic over and over, because I hate to see him get book burned for this without actual discussion about what he really said. So here's him. I have a bunch of clips from the Daily Mail interview, and we'll discuss them every 20, 30 seconds. Let's watch.
I love rappers. Rappers are artists. But when media calls me a rapper, specifically to not bring up the fact that I'm worth $11 billion, that I'm the richest black man of all time, that I'm a billionaire, that I'm a tycoon, that I'm a visionary. And if I say that, if I say those three things, then they'll say I'm a narcissist, right? But they push you down so much that you got to fight just to say who you are.
See, I used to defend Trump when he would talk about himself a lot. I understand people thought, well, he shouldn't say this, he shouldn't say that. But when the media is lying about you all the time, sometimes you want to declare who you are for historical reasons. I'm not that. I'm not crazy. I'm not racist. I'm this. I'm a billionaire. You know, it sounds very cocky to a lot of people. I mean, Kanye is very confident, so is Donald Trump. But when the media is trying to dehumanize you in front of the whole world and say you're crazy, insane, or terrible, sometimes you just state what you are. Like, Donald Trump is a very successful man. Kanye West is a very successful music artist, designer, creator. So he's like, you bash me down and then I say who I am, and then, you call me out for it. I do see the parallels between him and Trump, who constantly had to assert what really happened at their rallies or events so other people couldn't just talk over them and define their narrative. Let's keep listening.
You know, what I got from the documentary, from the Candace Owens documentary, was I felt like it was a setup. I felt that in the documentary, if you look at it, he told his roommates they want a tall guy like me. They want a tall guy like me. Well, who is they? I'm gonna pose it as a question, as opposed to, giving you some kind of theory that I can't pinpoint.
See, this is interesting because he's getting sued by George Floyd's baby mama, just like, Alex Jones got sued by the parents at Sandy Hook. And it sounds like Kanye is trying to push some sort of theory about George Floyd, saying they came and said, who are they? So he's asking questions about the George Floyd death. It's not the same as the Sandy Hook thing. I'm not saying it is, but it's the same. It seems like it's the same precedent that they're doing to Alex Jones. Well, these people are dead. You're questioning the narrative. Now we're going to shut you up and sue you for $1 billion. Regardless of what you think about it, I'm starting to really see the Alex Jones parallels. He's questioning the death of George Floyd, or at least the media narrative of it, and now they're giving him the Alex Jones treatment. It's very interesting stuff. And before we play another clip, do you get why it's important to not just say he's anti-Semitic or he's a terrible person? And he's dropping more gems than most Republicans will ever drop in their life. And these same Republicans are trying to just cover up history and book burn them and act like it's all hateful. Don't look there. No, you should look there because, for every one thing you might disagree with that he says, there's going to be 20 things that you probably do agree with. And if you don't, I don't care. You still don't have the right to burn him out of existence and smear his name without at least allowing your audience to see what he really said. Now, this interview is longer than I have all the clips for, but I did take my favorite parts of it. Here, let's keep going.
And this idea, these martyrs that we have, it's 14 kids is dying in Chicago every single day. And they have this Jewish media, black media, trauma culture, trauma economy, the stuff that Charlemagne the God works for, the stuff that Rosenberg works for, the stuff that academics, the guys that academics, you got to understand, all these people that y'all listening to out here, I'm going to tell y'all, they getting their checks cut.
He said Jewish media and black media. He called out Rosenberg, who's Jewish. He called out academics, who's black. And he called out Charlemagne, who's black. If people say white media, nobody cares. If people say black media, nobody cares. When you say Jewish media, all of a sudden people start caring. But I get what he's talking about. He's trying to say these people are bought and sold. It's just he's not as politically correct as everybody else. It's kind of like when Donald Trump was tweeting all this stuff. Everybody said, oh my gosh. But here's what I was saying from 2016 to 2019. Is it true, though? Is what he's saying true? You might think it's hateful because you hate the truth. You might think it's hateful because you have a different threshold of what I'm interested in. I like raw comedy. I like raw truth. Just like I don't want a comedian to be censored, I don't believe in censoring comedy. I don't believe in censoring speeches. Why should we allow free speech in comedy but not allow billionaires and hip-hop artists to speak their mind about the media? This is where we draw the line. See, I don't draw lines like this, but what Kanye is tapping into right there is he's saying Jewish media and black media, and he's saying this trauma culture. That's what it is. These two groups, no offense, now it's like the LGBT group as well. There's other tribes that are doing this, but in black and Jewish culture, it's fueled off of victim and trauma mentality. We were oppressed 200 years ago, so you can't question me. We were oppressed 70 years ago. You can't question me. You can't question my history, but I could question yours. You can't say this to me, but I could say it to you. It's all hypocrisy. It's all double standards, and Kanye's totally right. It's victim mentality, victim consciousness, and trauma-based culture. That's what he's talking about. Is everybody in on it? No, absolutely not. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying to speak about it, is that what we're going to do? Push it down, act like it doesn't exist, and say what he said is hateful? No, he's on his Donald Trump of not caring exactly how what he says comes out. He's just more interested in relaying the message. And I think honest and wise people of all groups will listen and make their own, judgment before they just hear little clips out of context and hear a bunch of do-nothings call them mean names. Let's keep listening.
And y'all, I need y'all to really respect what I'm doing, the stuff that I'm doing and I'm saying online, and love the fact, look, I got money, I got my songs. I could go off and just go to, Hawaii and live a nice life. That means that God has called me to sacrifice all of that in order to bring the truth. That's what I'm saying. They don't cut my check. You listen to people that's getting their check cut by Jewish media. George Soros, come and meet with me directly. I told you, you ain't gonna send none of these people that you usually send. Charlemagne, we know all the names.
So he calls out George Soros and says, meet with me directly, and even suggests that Charlemagne is being paid off by Soros or somebody else. I don't know. He doesn't make it clear. Here's the point that I'm going to get to. Out of everything I just showed you, right, that 2 minutes of clips chopped up, is the main point that you took is Kanye's crazy and Kanye's hateful and he's so dumb and he's so terrible, we shouldn't listen to him and he needs to go away? Is that the point you took? Of course not. Are we so sensitive now that if I tell the truth about, like Kanye did, about people dying in Chicago, that it's racist if I don't use the right terminology? Is that what we are now, snowflakes? We're not. But here's what people need to understand. There are certain groups out there, there are certain cultures out there, there are certain people out there who preach equality, but the last thing they want is equality. The LGBT community, not all of them, but the mainstream liberal ones in Hollywood, they preach equality, but they don't want equality. If you give them equality, it's like throwing water at a witch. They screech, they scream. They don't want equal treatment. They want LGBT supremacy. They don't want to be joked about, but you could be joked about. They don't want to be criticized, but you could be criticized. So although the mainstream liberal gay movement preaches equality, their arch enemy is equality, because they would shudder at the equal treatment that everyone else gets. And I'm sorry if this offends people, but that's very prevalent in the Jewish world like it is the black world. Everybody wants equality, but not really. They don't want their history questioned. They don't want their ethnicity questioned. They don't want to be grouped as a Jew, but then a lot of these same people constantly group themselves as a Jew to get certain goodies and victim cards. But, it's like, I don't care if you're white, but you're like, I'm not white. I don't care what you are, but if you're white when the going's good and you're like, I'm white, yeah, I'm so proud, I'm a proud Jew, I'm a proud black, yeah. But then when there's any sort of scrutiny or criticism of the tribe that you claim to be a part of, then you pop off and say, oh no, it's not. It's kind of phony. You know what I'm saying? If you're a Giants fan, you got to be a Giants fan when they win or lose, or else you're not really a fan. And this is a whole nother discussion I'm not going to get into because I'm not a genealogist, but there's some people who think being Jewish means following the religion. Others think it's an ethnic group. A lot of left-wingers are atheists. A lot of right-wingers are Orthodox, but some aren't. So that's a whole inter-Jew discussion that I'm not really willing to have, not because I'm afraid to, but because I'm not a Jew ethnically or religiously, so I don't really care about the argument. That's for an Orthodox and a secular person to have. But the point that I'm getting is everybody preaches equality, but nobody really wants it. And even on the right wing and on the left wing, I would say they're worse than the left wing. A lot of people are having to face the harsh reality of they make their whole life about saying, I'm not sensitive, words don't bother me, I don't need a safe space, but all of a sudden they do need a safe space, and then that needs to be deleted, and they want their victim card. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into this until later, but in Germany, and this is on a free speech tip, Noam Chomsky, who happens to be Jewish, he used to say that in America you shouldn't be charged for questioning World War II off a free speech issue. And a lot of Jewish people used to get mad at him, saying, does that mean you're a denier? Does that mean that's hate speech? You agree with them? And Noam Chomsky used to say famously, and I used to love him for this, I'm not saying I agree with that. Of course I don't. But I agree with their right to say it and not go to prison. In Germany, questioning World War II puts you in jail. There is a Jewish woman in prison in Germany right now for questioning the narrative around World War II. And if you were to disagree with the charging of that, they would call you a denier, or they would call it hate speech, or you an anti-Semite for simply standing up to the principles of free speech. And the hypocrisy around this is astounding. I understand that it's a horrible event. You can question my history, but I can't question yours. These are the double standards that people have gotten away with for so long, and they'll continue to get away with, because if you ever realize that they're treating you differently, they'll freak out at you and suggest that you're a hateful person. In America, when Donald Trump was building a wall or trying to, and there were kids in cages that most of them, if not all of them, were built during the Obama administration, and they weren't built to oppress, immigrants. They were built because we don't have enough space at the border, and we're running out of space. We don't even have enough space for our own people. But the point I'm getting to is you had Holocaust survivors that were writing op-eds in the media that were saying that this was like the Holocaust. So does that make me an anti-Semite to question the fact that at the border, that's not a Holocaust? I mean, on one hand, you tell me that this event was so evil, so miserable, so terrible, I can't question it at all, or else I'm a hateful person. Sure, I'm not going to question it then. Sure, yeah, okay, I'll bow down to you. Your history is unquestionable, but mine's not. Okay, you win. But at the border, I'm alive right now, and I'm watching. Why would that be a Holocaust when they're literally trying to come into this country? They're not running away and being stuck. They're coming here. If it was so bad, why even come in the first place? So that narrative's fake, but I'm supposed to believe that people who are willing to lie to me in the present moment, I can't question anything that they do ever. They can question my ethnicity. They can question my history. You get what I'm saying? The double standards start to flow. And just as somebody who's a free speech absolutist when it comes to questioning history, when it comes to questioning narratives, when it comes to tough racial discussions, I don't believe that you could solve hatred by censoring different, different groups speaking about others. I don't think the hate between the black and white world or the Jewish and the black world or vice versa or whatever, I don't believe that gets eliminated by censoring things and saying that we're allowed to say that you did all this stuff in history, but you're not even allowed to go close to our history. These are the double standards that people in this country have relished in. And that's the big secret, in my personal opinion, is not the fact that I don't believe certain things, or not the fact that I hate you, or I don't think that. The fact that people have hidden behind this victim card so much, and that's where they get their power from, because it's a power. If you're LGBT and you could come into a school and you could tell a 10-year-old that they're now transgender and they believe it, and no Christian's allowed to question you, or no right-wingers allowed to question you, or no left-wingers allowed to question you, that's where you get your power from. You get the power from the victim shield. No one's allowed to question you. Any question of you is hate speech. This is what they've done with racism in this country, the word. This is what they've done with anti-Semitism for probably a century right now. So I'm just being honest. This isn't going to help anybody. This isn't going to stop violence. This is the big hidden secret and elephant in the room, is a lot of the biggest hypocrites that are saying, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. If you flip the roles, they freak out. They want not equality, supremacy. They want a hidden hand. They think they're more important than you. They think that their struggles are bigger than your struggles, and you can't ever even get on the same page because they revel in the victim of it. That's where they get the strength from. That's just the truth. If I can do whatever I want and nobody could question me or my ethnic group that I'm so proud to be a part of, that's like a superpower. That's like a get out of jail free card. It's like I could do whatever I want and you're not even allowed to notice patterns. This is happening in major cities. You could look at the crime statistics, but if you were to notice a pattern, they'd call you a certain word. And here's where it gets interesting. And this is why I believe personally that, and this could go, you could say some harsh truths about my ethnic groups. I don't care. I'm just keeping it raw. In black culture, I don't feel bad for, no offense, people like Noriega and people like Charlemagne and people that are always talking about inequalities, because when push comes to shove, you're on the wrong side of history and you're trying to censor your brothers who are telling the truth about it. So what does it mean to be a black man in hip hop if you're allowed to rap about drugs and murder and killing your own people and robbing, and dozens of rappers are going to jail and dozens of rappers are getting killed by other black people in the streets, but you're not even allowed to mention it? But you are allowed to pump that message into the heads of black kids that's going to end them dead or in jail. How is it white or Jewish people's fault when you're playing into that narrative? So I don't believe in this victim mentality for me, for black or Jewish. I believe that sometimes your own worst enemy is you. It's not the white man's fault when you're pumping that message into the kids and you're too cowardly to stand up for Kanye West, who's telling you a way more interesting and helpful message of self-accountability to some extent, or at least reflecting on what it means to be black culture and the hidden hand behind it. So, I find the same thing in the Jewish world. It's like, I understand that historically people have done evil things, but do you have no self-accountability? Do you have no self-awareness? Do you have no critique. Everything is everyone else's fault. You can't ever ask questions, or, you use your group to, identify 9 days out of 10, but on the 10th day when something goes wrong, all of a sudden it's very disingenuous and it's very counterproductive. I don't say this because I'm a hateful person. It's just the truth. It's like sometimes people are their own worst enemy, and the time spent playing the victim narrative, eventually that bubble collapses, and a lot of people can't have that bubble collapse. People like Al Sharpton and Sean King, God bless those men, but it's like their entire career revolves around black strife and pain. So if black strife and pain goes away, they don't necessarily have a career anymore. I'm not saying that they're causing it and doing it, but at what point do you get too comfortable in the narrative that you're not really as helpful as you think you are? There's lots of people that are like this. So it's just like I'm starting to notice now. I mean, not starting, I've known this for years, but in general, when something like this comes up, it's an uncomfortable situation. But sometimes being too comfortable is not necessarily the greatest thing. And I believe that, love and truth will only flourish if people are allowed to say things. Once you have speech laws and walls that go up, I don't know that that's really going to help anybody. So let's keep listening. I have more clips of the interview. That's my unpopular take, and I know just saying that is a risk, right? It's open for scrutiny. Well, do you think this? Do you believe this? Do you hate this? No, I don't hate anybody. To be honest, if you want my real truthful opinion, when it comes to historical things, whether it's the 1700s, whether it's George Washington, Ben Franklin, I personally don't care what people think or say when it comes to their interpretation of it. I kind of draw the line. I think it's pretty messed up to destroy statues of any group, because that is history. So when you have a statue, whether it be a Ben Franklin, a Jewish man, a Muslim man, I don't believe in destroying history. I think that's evil. I think it's evil to knock down statues, because you're essentially just making it harder for us to figure out what's going on, because it's like burning a book. I don't believe in burning books, not in my own worst enemy. So this is how I feel, so I can't relate to somebody who thinks that you can't question history when I question my own history, and I believe that anybody that's trying to stop you from questioning something usually is on the wrong side of it. If you came to me and said, Anomaly, why do you think this? And I said, shut up, you're not allowed to question that, go away, you're a hate monger, would you trust me? Of course not. So trust is earned, and a lot of people want trust by censorship and trust by groupthink and trust by threatening your career, and that's sneaky. That's not trustworthy. That's deception. So I can't relate to people that are like, oh yeah, we can question everything but not this, we can do everything but not this, but not this, but not this. If you're so comfortable and confident in it, why don't you allow people to scrutinize it? It's not the way out of this, in my opinion. But I know that seems crazy to some people who create their whole identity around not being able to question certain things. You come to me and say, I'm under the understanding now that there's multiple different ideologues in the Jewish world, where some people think being Jewish is the religion. If you don't do what the Orthodox do, you're not a Jew. There's some Jews who think it's about ethnicity and they don't even practice the religion, but they're a proud ethnic Jew. And then there's some black people like the Hebrew Israelites that think that they're a Jew. Me personally, I'm not a Jew. I'm not saying I don't care, because I don't want anyone to be evil, but you could fight over that, whatever. Like for me, I'm Italian. If a black guy came up to me and said, I'm Italian, you're not the real Italian, I don't care. So I can't relate to crying over stuff, because it wouldn't bother me. Yeah, if someone was being a dick to me, I wouldn't like it. I get that. But as far as creating my whole identity around oh, this black guy said that he's really you, or I have black friends that say they're Native American and they're the real Americans. Do I, as an American, get mad at that? No, I say that's fire. I love that. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I can't relate to people trying to shut people down for identifying it. I get why people are upset. I get the history behind it. I get the pride behind it and the tribalism behind it. I understand that and I respect it. It's just I can't personally, I'm not bothered by questions. I'm not bothered by claims. These things just don't bother me. It's like a comedian. Oh, you saw that joke about abortion. That was messed up, right? I'm like, no. As somebody who isn't for abortion, a joke about abortion doesn't bother me. I said this when everybody was mad at the White House lady. She joked about abortion. It's comedy. I don't know what to tell you. I've heard multiple jokes about abortion that were funny. Does that make actual abortion funny? No, but that's what comedy is. You take the least funny things and make them funny. Bill Burr had a good joke about abortion. Tony Hinchcliffe has a good joke about abortion. I'm sorry, even for Christians, joking about abortion, in my opinion, isn't off limits, because comedy is not all rainbows and sunshine. You're taking dark things and trying to shed light on even the darkest things. So I'm unpopular on both sides with these opinions. So I understand it's not just a race or a political thing. Everybody gets mad at me at some point. That's how I feel about comedy, and that's how I feel about racial and historical conversations. And I know it's going to be misconstrued and twisted a million different ways. I guess I just don't care. Let's play more clips and then we'll keep it moving.
Woke culture is not really woke like that. A lot of times people, they would rather just exist inside of the pain of a lie than deal with the harsh realities of the truth. For us to look further, look at like the JFK, how many documentaries there are on what happened there.
I mean, that was a profound quote. I'm going to mess it up, but he said, a lot of people would rather live a lie than be confronted with the harsh realities of the truth. Something like that. It's pretty fire. Then he talks about the JFK conspiracy, which ironically or coincidentally or interestingly, Ben Shapiro posted a debunked JFK conspiracy theory. So out of one side of his mouth, Ben Shapiro is calling Kanye an anti-Semite. Out of the other side of his mouth, Ben Shapiro has debunked the JFK conspiracy theories, folks. Go to his YouTube channel to learn that nothing happened there. Maybe he's right. Maybe nothing happened there, but I would guess most people think something did happen there. So, I mean, I don't know that video is going to convince me otherwise, but maybe it will. I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a chance. Let's keep watching.
Like, as a people, we are a sophisticated people that have to look in and be willing to challenge things, not just take what the media has fed us. The interview we had was amazing, and the exact people who sent people in the streets for Black Lives Matter were able to derail the interview and a lot of the ideas just based off the main comment.
Right. I'm going to stand. This is my hill to thrive on. I don't say hill to die on. I don't like that terminology. This is my hill to thrive on and shine on. I don't like book burning. I can't stand it. Whether it's Donald Trump, I don't even specifically like Donald Trump right now because of Operation Warp Speed, and he's a vaccine salesman, or at least he was for the last 2 years. I'll forgive him though, but in general, I will still defend Donald Trump's right to speak. I don't think it's a good idea to allow people who hate Donald Trump and who are emotional about Donald Trump to control the narrative around Donald Trump. What's that going to do to history? If all the little kids learn Donald Trump was this, that, this, let the clips see for themselves. That's how they socially engineer people. If you search Trump on YouTube, you probably will have to scroll to find an actual Trump speech in full. You might have to scroll 100 videos before you, even if you can possibly find a Donald Trump video. That's not good. The reason I know so much, I'm not a know-it-all, but I do educate myself. And the best education is the truth. It's not their opinion or their opinion. I hope this inspires you to listen to the full podcast, because my analysis, I believe it's honest, accurate, and fair. That's why people watch me. But at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. So I don't want to hear what CNN thinks about Donald Trump. I want to hear Donald Trump, and I'll decide for myself. I don't want to hear what MSNBC or Daily Wire thinks about Kanye West. No offense. I'll listen, but I want to hear what he actually said. And that's why I'm going so hard this week, not for the reasons that people will probably falsely accuse me of. I don't care. This is how I truly feel. We cannot book burn. Getting rid of that podcast and having Andrew Schultz and all these people say that he's like Hitler. I mean, this is modern day book burning. And then covering up a 3-hour podcast that, I'm not trying to be rude, but that 3-hour podcast was better than anything Andrew Schultz has ever done in his life. You know, Andrew, you're not on his level. That's fine. But when the media deletes it and then that's your opinion on it, that's your comedy. That's your opinion. You know, in your comedy is your opinion. Yes, it's funny, but it's not funny. But it's also your perspective on the topic. Your perspective sucks. I'm going to get to Andrew Schultz later. His eyes look all glassed out. He looks like a psycho, yet he wants to call Kanye West crazy when Kanye's just standing there and calmly speaking. Maybe it's time to look in the mirror. I'm not going after people, some that are my friends, or, you know, I'm not doing this for my own health and I love just causing controversy. This is not time to book burn. I'm not allowing one of the most successful and rich people in this world, who gave probably the boldest speech of the decade, to just get written off like there was nothing there. There was no value there because you're offended or emotional about certain terms that he used with a snowflake safe space vibe. I can't allow the book burning. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I want to show people what was actually said so you can decide for yourself. But let's keep it playing. I think I played this clip, but if I did, I'll stop and play another one.
Like, as a people,
yeah, I already played that one. Let's keep it moving.
I'm sorry, I'm distracted by these people honking over here. So with Nori is my brother. He's under a lot of pressure. If you look at the first thing it says, Nori does an interview with Rosenberg. But what's the exact thing I was saying? I said the Jewish media controls so many things. It's not all the Jewish people, but there's specifically Jewish people in media that are in power that try to have, they bought the black voice.
So he specifically says in that clip, it's not all Jewish people, but there is media that has bought the black voice. He doesn't say it's all people. It's like, it's the ultimate victim card in safe space, though, where people don't want to be identified. And not all people feel this way. Let's not get it twisted. But it's like, if I were to say black media or black culture, would you correct me and say, Anomaly, it's not all black media, you know, some Jews own it, some white people own it, it's not all black, it's not all black. Nobody's going to correct me. Nobody cares. If I say black culture, black media, black this, no one's going to care and be like, oh yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, not every, you know, Vlad TV is he's Jewish, but he's part of hip hop culture. He's not black, and he plays a huge role in hip hop culture. Nobody's going to stop me and just say, like, and you can, I don't care if you do. It's just like, he's explaining not all Jewish people do it. But if the whole world's going to call that black culture, this white supremacy, this white this white guilt, this black this, is it not okay to point out that, I mean, like Kanye says in another interview, if you're an athlete or a celebrity or a musician, you're going to figure out soon enough that the amount of influence from mostly atheist, left-wing Jewish people is astronomical. It's such a pattern. You know, everybody always says we're 1 or 2% of the population, so that's why we're so sensitive, because we don't like to be, you know, misconstrued, and I understand that. But also being 1 or 2% of the population, but dominating almost every industry all the time, but then those industries turn around and call everything white European supremacy, it's a little weird. You know, it's worth communicating about, is it not? If everybody that owns media companies identifies, even whether they are or not, as that, and then their media companies are constantly profiting off of this stuff, is it not worth mentioning? Kanye mentions that so many of these executives are profiting off Black death. They're not only profiting off the abortion culture, but they're profiting off of like Black ignorance. Kanye says in the interview, I'm not going to repeat the words, but he says, F that. Like, he says a bunch of really ignorant rap stuff. And he said, I bet you if you search Apple Music, that's in the top 3 songs. Do you want to bet against it? And nobody did. The point he was trying to get to is, you can call me racist for talking about Jewish executives if you want. But I think it's racist to have to be a totally different race making billions of dollars off of my race killing themselves, and you pump out that music. You know, it's similar to Andrew Schultz, who he's not Jewish, so I've heard he's Italian or German or something, but in general, it's like Andrew Schultz sells hair growth stuff. He sells gambling apps. You know, it's not like Andrew's the most ethical person in the world selling gambling to his audience, you know, yet these are the people that will then turn around and say that you don't have morality. If Andrew Schultz was such a moral high ground to Kanye West, you wouldn't be selling whatever. It just seems like you'll sell whatever, like gambling app, hair things, like cool, like, you know, hair plugs, like these are things that, no offense, I wouldn't sell either of those. And I'm not trying to make a comparison, but you trash Kanye West. It's like these media companies that trash Alex Jones. Okay, you don't have to like Alex Jones, but Alex Jones sells supplements. Alex Jones sells holistic products and water filters. What do you sell, Fox News? You know, all these uppity Fox News guys in a suit. What do you sell that's so great? War, the Iraq war, pharmacy products, you know? And you're better than, you don't have the moral high ground. So, you know, I'm all fine with other people questioning others, but it's like, you know, Andrew Schultz seems like somebody that's fair weather, fence sitting, stands for nothing, willing to dunk on somebody getting book burned and is willing to sell gambling and hair products to his whatever. It's like, get whatever, I'll do whatever, I'll do, so it's best not to falsely smear people who are actually doing something more important than you, in my opinion. Let's keep listening.
But they haven't been able to buy my voice. So instead, they blackball me. They threaten people to not interview me. They threaten people to get away from me. They close down my stadiums. Love you too, family. Love you too. Yeah. You said thinking, right? Appreciate you. Yeah. They've done all this stuff for years, messing with me, just like poking at me.
And it's already starting to happen in conservative politics and hip hop culture. I don't care because I've never cared, and my whole brand has been not complying or doing anything for an extra opportunity. So this is not going to affect me. Some people will like it, some people won't. I'll continue to grow because I'm speaking the truth. But for a lot of other people, this is really causing a wedge in the hip hop world, in the conservative world even. Obviously, there's already a divide between left and right, but there's a lot of people that say, I like what Kanye's saying. Some people saying, I think he has the free speech to do it. And then others saying, I hate it. That's anti-Semitism. If anybody supports that, that's not good. So it's already kind of creating this new conversation around it. But I get what he's saying. And I just personally believe that as somebody that consumes a lot of information, I don't believe in hate speech. At this point, I agree with Lil Wayne and Jesse Lee Peterson more than I agree with people who cry racism and anti-Semitism all the time. I don't even use those words anymore because what does racist mean? What does anti-Semitism mean? Who are you talking to? Some people think this is anti-Semitic. Some people think it's racist to not buy from a black business. This is racist. This is racist. It means whatever you want it to be. It can expand and contract depending who you were. So I don't even use the words racist. What I try to think is it right or wrong? Is it good or evil? Is it true or false? Sometimes someone says something's racist, but it's true, or it's anti-Semitic, but it's true. So that word means nothing to me because it's been exaggerated and lied about so much. And it's going to take more than laws telling me it's illegal to say you're exaggerating for me to stop telling the truth. I don't know what else to really say. You can't brainwash me into compliance and submissiveness. Like, it's not going to happen. I don't have that gear in my body to sell out or lie for clout. It just won't work. So, at the end of the day, I believe in tough conversations around race. If Louis Farrakhan comes to the table and says, I want to live in an all-black neighborhood, a lot of people would consider that racism. Some might even say anti-Semitism. Me, I'm not going to say the words racism or anti-Semitism because what is that even? If Louis Farrakhan wants to live in an all-black neighborhood, am I supposed to try to stop him? Is that my business? Maybe he wants to try that, and there's a million people like him, and maybe they can experiment and try that, and I offer that opportunity to everybody, but some would only do it to black and Jewish, but not white. I'm this type of person. I'm just like, I can't tell Koreatown to be more white. If you want to live around Koreans and speak Korean, go for it. I'm not one of these people that puts up boundaries and uses these words. These words, racism and anti-Semitism, basically just mean I'm better than you, you're worse than me, I don't want to talk about it. That's what those words mean. I'm a better person than you. I love that group of people more than you do, and I just don't even want to have a conversation about it. This is why I don't use those words. If something's evil or hateful, if I can't explain why it's evil, wrong, or hateful without using the words racist or anti-Semitism, that means I don't know what I'm talking about. That's why when Ben Shapiro says anti-Semitism 7 times in a sentence, but he can't even pinpoint and explain exactly what part. And maybe when he does, he just says that's anti-Semitism, but doesn't explain why or, what the problem is with that. It's because either he's intellectually lazy or he doesn't have a philosophical argument to explain himself, or he's taking a shortcut. Either way, that's why I don't do that stuff. Let's listen to the Andrew Schultz, Kanye smear, quote unquote comedy, where Andrew is he's very popular. He's getting ratioed like 90-something% of people in the comments are like, dude, you sold out. Who paid you? So this isn't going well for him. And that's the power of the people. People can see through this stuff now. Everyone's like, aren't you scared of this or that? No, the scary part is being a liar nowadays, okay, guys? We're reframing the conversation. It's not scary to tell the truth. It's not scary to be honest. It's not scary to stand up to cancel culture. It's scary to be forced vaccinated, live with a mask on your face your whole life, and be a comedian where you're sitting on the fence. That's scary, because when you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. Once you get what I'm saying? It's not scary to be honest about this stuff. It's a lot more scary to be a fence sitter and to be completely dishonest about a topic that's not going to go away, because the truth doesn't disappear. You can cover it up, you could book burn, you could lie, you could play the victim, you could call everybody mean names, but at the end of the day, I give it the example of San Francisco. Yeah, all this media, left wing are so great. Not that city. Nobody wants to, I mean, I guess liberals want to live there, but it's like you could tell the world what you're doing, but at the end of the day, whatever you're doing is going to manifest in your city, and it's a shithole. So, you know, there's not enough Huffington Post or Washington Post puff pieces to, you know, fix the city, because physical reality is manifested from actions, not your words. Your words don't matter. That's why I'm not so sensitive. Words, we get it. Yes, he said something that hurts your safe space. Donald Trump hurt your boo-boo. Oh my God, you know, you need a binky now because Ilhan Omar said something. You need your baby binky. It's like, I don't specifically like certain people, but I don't understand why so many people are so like allergic to like conversations. I don't get it.
Kanye West, you gopher-faced Deutschbag. This week, Kanye went on a media blitzkrieg. He threw so many stones at the Jews, he's now an honorary general in the West Bank, which is soon to be the only bank that will accept him. JP Morgan actually canceled his account, so the only transaction Kanye is going to have is when Caitlyn drops off the kids. So what exactly did Ye say? Well, Hungry Hitler went on Drink Champs with the most bloated cheeks I've ever seen on a human. The guy looks like a Ninja Turtle just had a root canal and proceeded to spout off more hate than a West Virginia water fountain.
So Andrew Schultz is calling him Hungry Hitler while he's pretty much laughing at the fact that his bank account got closed down. It's like, oh, your bank account got closed down. Ha 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 ha, you're Hitler. Andrew Schultz, bro. And this is the funny thing. My intuition is golden. I saw Andrew Schultz being a little sneak a couple months ago, just being like very sleazy and very dishonest and very fence sitter about a topic. And I remember I said something about him, and I'm like, shoot, because I have mutual friends. You know, I have friends that hang out with him. He's generally doing good work. He's like a Bill Maher kind of, where he doesn't actually stand for anything, but he will sometimes, and you're like, that's dope. I like, you know, Bill Maher has a lot of good takes too. Andrew Schultz is like a Bill Maher, in my opinion, like very similar. But I said something, I was like, you know what, I hate to be overly critical, and I felt bad about it. But now I'm like, that was my intuition telling me that he was a phony. And he is a phony, because that take is like terrible. It only gets dumber and worse.
He claimed George Floyd was killed by fentanyl. Wrong. Kanye, we have video evidence of a throat getting crushed, and don't worry, Kim's not in it. He blamed the Jews for trying to silence him. Yay, the only Jew that's ever kept your mouth shut was the dentist that wired your jaw. I hear some people saying Kanye did bring up some very strong points. Yes, these points. That's it. Kanye isn't the free thinker he claims to be. He just regurgitates the talking points of the latest pseudo-intellectual leech.
Andrew Schultz, I'm going to be clear with you, buddy. Okay? I hope you see this, man to man. You're trying to demonize a 3-hour interview filled with thousands of amazing points. You're saying the only point that there was a KKK hood. That's all he said was KKK stuff. You are such a phony, Andrew Schultz. You're such a fraud, bro. Kanye's worst moment in that interview is probably more interesting and more honest than anything you've done in your life. You're nothing, bro. You're just a little weasel fence sitter. You're just a, who's going to pay my bills? Should I get the people addicted to gambling? Should I get the people addicted to hair? Should I sell hair gel? Who's going to pay me? Who what can I do? How can I milk off of, you know, cancel culture, anti-cancel culture, but still be a complete fraud? Like, what can I do to be famous? You're nothing, bro. That's going to be as he's getting debanked, you're laughing at it. As he's getting book burned, you're telling people that the only point he made was a KKK hood. That's your comedy? Bro, you're like a lighter skinned Trevor Noah. You're a loser. You're a liar. You will never be 1,000th as honest, interesting, important as Kanye West, you're probably an atheist. I don't know for sure, and there's a lot of great atheists watching my channel. I'm not saying, but it's like, I don't know. What a joker this guy is, man. I didn't even realize how stupid and bad this was. No wonder why he's getting ratioed. What an idiot.
The only original thoughts Kanye's ever had are Amber, Kim, and Julia. So, is Kanye insane? Selfishly, I hope he is. I'd rather believe this is the behavior of a guy battling bipolar disorder than accept I've been supporting a black skinhead for decades. So my message to you, Chipmunk Cheeks, is simple. Get better. Better friends, better therapists, better perspective on the world, and better meds. And good luck, because you're going to need it.
I'm Andrew Schultz. My eyes look like this. You're crazy. You're crazy, Kanye West. I'm yelling lies. I'm yelling lies with production. I'm yelling lies with production. You're crazy, Kanye West. Seek meds. Do we need to play another Kanye clip of how he's just standing there and he's like, here's what I believe. Here's the truth. It's going to be unpopular, but I'm just going to spit facts. And you're crazy. Seek a therapist. Andrew, find God. Find God, Andrew Schultz. You're a fence-sitting, milquetoast, sell anything to your audience, weaselly, two-faced, nothing burger, okay? Find God, find the truth, stop covering up for debanking and book burning and trying to propagandize people into thinking it's cool. You lose, bro. You can't build an audience off of truth and anti-cancel culture and then flip when humanity needs it most and think people are going to buy it. He's probably behind his computer like, I don't understand why I'm getting ratioed, because you're an idiot. And I want to explain to people why I try to stand up for others sometimes, even people I don't fully agree with, because this is what society does. They always try to cancel the best. I'm sorry, but the worst and dumbest people in society are not getting kicked off of Twitter. Donald Trump is not the worst or dumbest person in society. Louis Farrakhan, say what you want about him. He's not the dumbest and worst person in society. Alex Jones, I don't care who you talk about that got kicked off. Usually they're pretty smart. Whether you agree with them or not, like the average person saying the dumbest, most ignorant thing, the rapper that can't even speak and is saying just the most ignorant stuff, they get promoted. They get put on stages. They win Grammys. So it's not like they're banning the worst people. They're banning the most interesting people who are not controllable by the left-wing media complex. That's the truth. So it's like, little weasels like Andrew Schultz come out of their groundhog hole a couple times a year to dunk on people that are more interesting and honest than they'll ever be. And this is what society likes to do. Let's book burn that. Let's cover it up. Let's act like it never happened. If reframe it, let's falsely label it. And that's what people will believe. And that's propaganda, and that's false history. So then when your kid reads the history books, Donald Trump, was putting people in camps at the border, and he tried to, he hates minorities. And, at a certain point, that's what people are going to read in the history books. That's why it's so important. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, whether you agree with everything he's done, whether you love his vaccine sales or not, it's important to let people know what really happened. You want to know who Donald Trump was, look at the executive orders he passed, look at the policies he signed, because to be honest, all the bad things Donald Trump did weren't even called out by the media. Every bad thing Donald Trump did, they loved. So there is no real discussion about who Donald Trump was. It's either like he was literally Hitler, says the left wing, or he was like God, says the right wing. There is no like, or he was just an unconventional matrix breaker. Some people just think he was like a chink in the chain, so to speak. So, there is like, who wins history? There's a real battle going on for who's going to write the books that your kids read about Donald Trump. Is it going to be the people who thought he was literally Hitler, or is it going to be the people who thought he was God? Or is it going to be someone that's honest? I can guarantee you one thing, that the truth is not going to be told about Donald Trump either way. If the people who think he was literally the worst person in the world win, your kids are going to read the lie. If the people who obsess over Donald Trump like his biggest fans win, they're also going to lie and make him seem better than he really was. So either way, the minority in this conversation are logical people who realize that Donald Trump wasn't the worst thing in the world, but also can see things that he did that weren't right. I guarantee you that version is not going in the history books, regardless of who wins this culture war. So, it really makes you wonder, what people are doing. That's what I'm here to do with Ye. And people can lie and false frame. I just want people to hear what he actually said. And I'm tired of people that are way more psychotic than Kanye West. Like Andrew Schultz's comedy, I get it. Like you yell, you're being like upbeat. Like compared to Kanye's interview, let's just go back and forth and let's see which one sounds crazier to you. And I don't care, because I get that sometimes you yell and, you know, it's cool to be like, you know, overly animated in comedy, etc. Like I get that. I'm not trying to say you have to be calm to be a comedian, but it's like, let's compare like two different news clips real quick and see which one sounds crazier. Let's see.
Woke culture is not really woke like that. A lot of times people, they would rather just exist inside of the pain of a lie than deal with the harsh realities of the truth for us to look further. Look at like JFK, how many documentaries there are on what happened there.
Very calm, very at peace, very soft-spoken.
The only original thoughts Kanye's ever had are Amber, Kim, and Julia. So, is Kanye insane? Selfishly, I hope he is. I'd rather believe this is the behavior of a guy battling bipolar disorder than accept I've been supporting a black skinhead for decades. So my message to you, Chipmunk Cheeks, is simple. Get better. Better friends, better therapists, better perspective on the world, and better meds.
Get meds, Kanye West. Kanye's like, this is how I feel. This is what it is. This is the truth. I know some people can't accept it. Get meds. Maybe you should sell more hair plugs and, you know, maybe it's time to stop talking about Kanye and sell more hair plugs and gambling apps, Andrew Schultz. Maybe it's time to get on your knees and just like, you know, suck off whoever's willing to throw money at you. It's like, gambling apps? Hair plugs? Whatever. I'll sell whatever. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. I have no stances. Please just pay me. Give me your money. Let me stand on the stage. Let me be the comedian that's like edgy enough to get all the money from the conservatives, but not actually edgy enough to actually stand on anything. You know, there's people like that in the music industry too that are making a fortune off of conservatives by being like, I'm just like you, I'm white, I'm a rapper, oh, it sucks to be me. But then it's like, do you really even have these feelings, or is it like a role you're playing? I'm just saying, you know, it's like, I don't care. You don't have to be me. I'm not saying you have to agree with all my stance. I'm not even saying you have to be Republican, but it's like, there's a lot of people playing the role of, I'm against cancel culture. Yeah, give me millions. Because people want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? There's two types of people that are out here now, and I'm fine with people changing their mind. I don't have a monopoly on any thoughts that I say. I want people to wake up. I want people to learn. I'm just letting you know that there's two different types of people out there. There's people that say, I'm inspired to speak the truth. I'm inspired to go against the grain. I'm inspired to be real. I'm inspired to let my people know. And then there's people who say, I'm going to go bankrupt and I'm going to be broke and I don't have any sort of engagement on my audience. Look at what Anomaly's doing. Look at what they're doing. Look at what, you know, Ryan Long's doing or whoever. And let's do what they're doing, because that's way bigger than what I'm doing. Anomaly's getting 5,000 comments on his Instagram things and I'm only getting one. So what, you know, nobody wants to hear I want to inspire people. I want people to grow. It's not a competition, but I'm just saying there's two types of people out here. People that were inspired to speak the truth and go against cancel culture, and people who saw it as a revenue lane of half the country believes this and every comedian's treating them like they're dirt. So why don't I treat them like they're not dirt and take their money? And that's who I think Andrew Schultz is. I'm not trying to be a jerk, because obviously he could have just made a mistake. Maybe he's uneducated about the Kanye interview. Maybe he's a snowflake, soft space, you know, fraud. I don't know. I'm willing to admit that he just had a bad take. Everybody has bad takes sometimes. But I'm starting to feel like you've made your lane has been to this point. And I'm not saying you have to agree with everything I'm saying. Let's not get it twisted. But your lane truly has been, I'm Andrew Schultz. I understand left-wing media is a joke too. I'm going to make fun of both sides, and I'm going to, you know, pretty much be against cancel culture. But then you're laughing at someone who's getting debanked and calling him Hitler and a white nationalist supremacist when he's getting canceled. That would be like Andrew Schultz getting his special taken down and me being like, oh, dude, Andrew Schultz is nothing but a racist, sexist, xenophobic conspiracy theorist who needs to be canceled off air. He's interviewed Alex Jones. He's had that type of scrutiny. And I always stand up for him because it's like, I don't care if I agree with Andrew Schultz. I don't care if he's one of these pseudo-intellectual dummies who votes for Democrats and lives in crappy cities that are declining and just like wants money. Whatever. I don't even care. But it's like, you know, I'm not going to dunk on you and call you all sorts of these names, because if Kanye's the KKK and he's Hitler, which he's not, what do you think happens to him? You get your bank taken away and you get kicked off of social media. That's what's happening to Andrew, and I'm sorry, to Kanye. And Andrew's saying you are all those things. Basically, you deserve to be censored, but I'm against cancel culture. But you deserve it, but I'm against it. It's such a joke, man. And this is why people get so annoyed and fed up. It's like, is anybody real anymore? You know, someone asked me that. They're like, is anybody telling the truth about this? And I'm trying to think. There's a few people, but I'm not consuming enough content of other opinions to really know who's telling the truth or not. And there's other angles to it. Don't get it twisted. A lot of things in this world are perception and perspective. But this is why I'm going so hard. I want to keep this under an hour, so I'm going to make this brief. I don't agree with book burning. Whether it's the Communist Manifesto, whether it's ancient texts from people that are considered the worst people in history, whether it's Kanye West or Donald Trump or Louis Farrakhan or anybody, I support their right to speak. And I believe if you really want to know what they're saying, you should listen to it. I've listened to full Louis Farrakhan speeches, okay? Some things he said I disagreed with. Some things he said, I think he was flat out being a little emotionally hateful, but I don't call it, it's not hate speech, because maybe some people just hate to hear what he has to say, you know. So I don't care. Like, I know what he thinks because I've listened to him to make my own opinion about it. And what I've come to the conclusion of, although I'm not Louis Farrakhan, he's black, Nation of Islam, I'm not Islamic, I'm not part of the Nation of Islam, and I'm not black. Although Louis Farrakhan is actually part white, he just doesn't talk about it very often, which is interesting. But when I listen to him speak for 3 hours, and then I listen to someone say who he is, it's never the same. It's the same with Donald Trump. If you listen to someone's opinion of Donald Trump, it's not ever going to be the same as actually hearing who he is and seeing who he is. So that's my message to everybody, whether it's Kanye, Farrakhan, Trump, anyone. Give it a listen if you truly want to know, and it's almost never exactly what they say. Even if you disagree with it, even if you're offended, even if you consider it hateful, even if you consider it wrong, it's all perception and perspective. I have some Jewish friends that you could say something that's considered the most anti-Semitic, and they would laugh because they're not offended by words. I have one of my best Jewish friends, you could say the craziest thing about Jewish people, and he would not care. That's just how not politically correct he is. He doesn't care. He thinks it's funny, or he brushes it off. But then I have other Jewish friends, if you said 1/1000th of that, they'd scream anti-Semitism. It's all perception and perspective. You have Jews fighting with each other over what it means to be anti-Semitic. It's all perception and perspective, especially with a word that can expand and contract. In fact, I wanted to do a different video on this, but I don't even know if I want to bring it up because it might get censored. Ethan Klein, who is a left-wing YouTuber who happens to be Jewish, he said on a video that if there was another Holocaust, he hopes that Ben Shapiro dies first. I mean, this is a Jewish YouTuber who's left-wing, who's friends with the Jewish woman who runs YouTube, Wojcicki. He takes pictures with her. And he's saying he wants Ben Shapiro to die in a Holocaust. That's crazy. I mean, that's so evil. I would never say that. I don't even like Ben Shapiro, but I would never say that. I don't want to take Ben Shapiro's life. What does that mean if you want to take his life to beat his argument? I want to debate Ben Shapiro and shake his hand. I don't want to hurt him, but Ethan Klein literally said he wants him to die. But he won't get penalized for that because he's a left-winger, you know? It's so crazy. And then he'll call everybody else anti-Semitic. He'll be like, oh my God, Ethan Klein says everything's hate speech. Everything's hate speech. They deserve to get censored. He literally just said that he thinks Ben Shapiro wants him to die in a mass murder scheme. And is that going to get called out by CNN? You know, whether it be left-wing, right-wing, black, white, Jewish, whatever, you know, all this sort of stuff, whatever your tribe is, your ethnic group, whatever, People are just tired of the hypocrisy and the double standards. There's thousands of right-wing Jews who are tired of left-wing hypocrisy just like me. I'm not here to divide and judge and tell you who you are. I'm just here to not allow people to book burn, and I'm just here to let people know, listen to full context speeches of the people that you like or dislike. Listen to what they're saying. Take in all angles and make a decision for yourself. Don't allow anybody to just say it's hate speech and brush it under the rug, because you're going to miss what really is there. And when it comes to Ye, I listened to 3 hours of it. I would say it's 90-something% gems. Like, it's like gem, offensive thing that's going to offend. I'm just not offended by things, so I can't really relate. But it's not like I agree with 100% of it, but I'm not going to throw it out and let Andrew Schultz call him Hitler. It's not happening. Appreciate you guys. God bless you. Have a beautiful day. I'll be back soon. DreamRareLinks.com. Check it out. Dream Rare Podcast, whatever, music. I got it all there. DreamRareLinks.com. Under an hour.